What is up, everybody? We are back at it again. This time, taking a peek at one of the most controversial eras, the first album, one of the most controversial eras in Iron Maiden's entire career, discography. And of course, we're talking about 1995's The X Factor with a crazy looking Eddie on it. And, last time I was talking about this, and I said I wasn't going to say the nicest things, but you know what? I've listened to this thing like 3 times in the past couple of days here to really get a good sense of it. And I don't hate it anymore. So, hey, there you go. Your opinion can change. I mean, I don't think it's great by any means. Don't get me wrong, but I don't hate it at all, and I think it's got some pretty damn good tunes on it. And I could easily say this is the darkest album in Iron Maiden's entire discography. It deals with some pretty dark tones about death. I know Steve Harris was going through a divorce at the time, so he was kind of struggling with some stuff. It talks about some depression and suicide on here, so it's pretty dark stuff. But anyways, we kick it off with just an incredible song. I've always liked this song. Of course, I think it's way better done by Bruce, like on the live album or whatever. But I mean, this version's still awesome. We're talking about "Sign of the Cross" and Blaze Bayley. I mean, he's not, he's the new vocalist on this album. He only stays around for 2 albums, and he's my least favorite of the vocalists from Maiden. But he's not bad. I think he plays to his strengths more often than not on here, on this album in particular. But there are some things that, I'm kind of like, okay, dude. Like, and in fact, he kind of impresses me even near the end, which we'll get to that. But Sign of the Cross, that is an epic freaking track. And I'm sure most people, even like the haters of this album, like I used to be, like I remember the first time I ever heard this album, and I went into it optimistic, I heard that track, I was like, okay, maybe people are wrong. And to some extent they are, some extent they're not. There are some problems with this record. But Sign of the Cross is just I consider that like a Maiden classic, especially since Bruce even plays it with the band, nowadays on tours and stuff like all the time. So that's really cool. Then you get Lord of the Flies, which is another pretty cool track. More of a quicker one. I think Blaze kind of, I don't know, he doesn't really do it for me vocally on this track all that well, but I mean, it's not bad. It's a pretty decent song. So then we go to track 3, Man on the Edge. Now we got another pretty killer track. So you got 3 good, one great, and 2 pretty good tracks in a row here, Man on the Edge. Both kind of aren't my favorite vocally on this album. Man on the Edge and Lord of the Flies, but they are good tracks. The songwriting's here. I think if you put Bruce on this album, we'd be talking totally different about the entire album. But then here's where the album, it starts to kind of, I think it's too long, and it starts to kind of bore you a little bit. This is why it kind of took me 3 times to listen to the thing. I listened to it 3 times in a row, or not in a row, but like 3 times over the past couple of days, just because I wanted to really, I was trying really hard to like this album. That first listen I did, I got kind of bored through it, and this is where that kind of boredom starts. At Fortunes of War, or no, I would say that track is actually pretty good. That's a pretty strong track on here. It's the one after, Look for the Truth, that it starts losing me a little bit, and you start kind of droning on and kind of having the same kind of thing going on here. And it kind of continues the same way with The Aftermath. That, and Fortunes of War, that's a pretty decent tune, but I think I retract that. I think that is kind of where it starts to lose me a little bit. On Fortunes of War, I mean, you just had the epic Sign of the Cross and 2 pretty decent, like, shorter songs, and then you go into, like, these ones that are just kind of droning along. They're not anything remarkable, and they're pretty much Fortunes of War, Look for the Truth, The Aftermath are pretty much, in my opinion, like filler, just straight through there. And I mean, it's not like, oh my god, I need to turn this off, it's horrible. But I mean, it's not anything that, like, to write home about at all. Then you go on to Judgment of Heaven, which is a pretty damn good song. This is one of those albums where the bottom half is actually stronger, I think, overall than the top. I mean, my favorite song off here is Sign of the Cross, but Judgment of Heaven is a pretty freaking good song. And it's almost like Blaze really started showing off vocally near on this track and up. And then you get Blood on the World's Hands, another very vocally impressive song. I really love that one. Really cool track. You start kind of hearing some really, really cool solos and some kind of different tones that, Adrian, or sorry, not Adrian, because he's not on this record, but Yannick and Dave Murray start kind of exploring with on here. I mean, I will say the guitar tone overall on this album is one of my least favorite. And I don't really like Nico's tone. He needed to tighten the drums up a little bit, and it becomes pretty prevalent after listening to this record a couple of times. But then we've got, Blood in the World's Hands, a great one. Probably my second favorite track on here, though, is The Edge of Darkness. That's a freaking epic. I'll tell you that. Man, that is another just very dark track. And I really, again, this is the darkest Maiden album cover, really, as far as like brutality goes. I mean, he's getting squished and lobotomized there and all kinds of stuff. And just lyrically and even like musically, like it's pretty damn dark. Which, I mean, I do respect Maiden for not trying the whole grunge route, like a lot of the metal bands at the time, were going for, like bands who had been there a while. Like Kiss, for example, went like a whole grunge album, and I don't have any problem with grunge. Like, I'm a big Alice in Chains fan, and I love Soundgarden, Mother Love Bone, all that cool stuff. But it's stick to what you do, whenever. But that's a whole other rant. I'm getting off on a rant there about bands. Anyways, they did not do that, which I do respect them for. But yeah, The Edge of Darkness has just got it's got really cool time changes. That's one of these kind of proggier tracks on here, which a lot of them are on here, pretty proggy. Then you get 2 a.m., which is another pretty cool one. Not my favorite, but it's a pretty solid song. Then you end it with The Unbeliever, and that is another top tier song on this album. So yeah, I am pleasantly surprised. It took me a couple listens over these past couple of days, but when you're optimistic about going into something like that, is especially generally hated among the fans, and hell, I used to hate it, not because of that, but I used to I guess it was just so shocking for me at the time, hearing it, and this stuff, you change, you evolve, and I've just learned to appreciate this thing, and I don't think it's a terrible album. I used to shit on it pretty hard back in the day, and not too long ago. And I did a little bit in the previous video near the end. But, it's a decent record. It really is. I don't think it's bad at all. And next time, we're taking a peek at the second and thankfully final Blaze Bayley album, because as decent and good as this thing was, I do just give me Bruce back, But we'll look at 1998's Virtual 11. And then we'll get to escape this weird era of Maiden in the 90s. But, anyways, yeah, guys, I would love to talk about or hear people's opinions on this thing, hear if somebody hates it and why, because I was right in the same camp as you, really before this couple of re-listens here on this. And if you love it, and have always loved it, that'd be really cool to hear about, how you got into the album and all. And maybe there's some of you out there like me who just kind of took a while to grow on you a little bit. And so I totally dig this album. I respect it. No Blaze Bayley hate anymore over here. But anyways, thanks guys, and like, subscribe, comment, and let me know what you think. Thanks.